So for me, action planning, one-off hits aren't sustainable as a result of some kind of learning engagement, whether that's a traditional workshop or perhaps even in a coaching environment. What I'm really interested in is about how we develop habits that tend to be daily as a result of some kind of learning trigger. So here I'm going to share with you my top 8 tips for developing habits in 8 easy steps. So let's click in at number 1. Now the first one is where people get trapped straight away, is they think about something you need to make, but actually you might need to break something first. You might need to break a habit, something you're not going to do, but allows you to do something else. So it's a do or do not approach. So this is your first gate, if you like. Do you go left, do you go right? Is it something you need to make, something new, shiny and interesting, which we're often drawn to? That's fine, but is it something you need to break, something you need to stop, or even slow down or change? So that's your first start of 10. The one thing I would always say is come back to the make. Always phrase your habit when it develops, when it evolves. Always phrase it in a positive intention, because if you say I'm going to stop doing X, Y, and Z, you'll just always want to do it. So you can start there, but think about stop doing something, but what can you make or do instead? So that's number 1. Number 2 is consider all aspects of life. We take many shortcuts in life. To think about is the energy mapping that you might be familiar with, that I've introduced many a time on my blogs, is the soul, body, heart, mind and spirit. So think about areas of life, areas of work, that kind of harmony between across our lifestyle and where you want to make these habits. So typically I do one in each of the 5 areas. I can't take any shortcuts then. So something from the soul perspective that grounds, centers and relaxes me. Something physically, so that's exercise, sleep, nutrition, those kind of good things. The heart is around your relationships, emotions, compassion, gratitude is a big one. The mind is the learning, the cognitive, the intellectual side, and the spirit is about being and meaning. So just make sure you consider your habits coming from all different bases. Start where you need the most, but obviously if you sunk all your habits in one of these domains, you might be taking a few shortcuts and treading the ground a little bit too much. The next one is the habit loop, and this is a well-known view of habits. Really, it looks at 3 different things, and you want to kind of hack your habit at the start. So you might want to think, what's the cue, routine, and reward? Now, be careful with the reward. You don't undo all your good work by giving yourself too much reward at the end. But the cue is something that clicks, something that already happens in the environment that you need to change. It might be a meeting that you go to and you always get into a certain place. Or it might be the routine, something you have in your daily or weekly schedule. So the idea with this is think about how can you create new cues and hack the cues that aren't working. How can you develop your routine and actually break that routine? So a quick one from me. Often in work I was finding myself around that kind of 1-2 o'clock reaching for a cup of coffee, and it was just that routine really. It was nothing more than actually I just wanted to get away from what I was doing, have a little bit of a break. So now I sometimes just quite frankly go to the bathroom even if I don't really need it, or I'll get water instead. So I could just see the routine was kind of a bit messed up. It wasn't really a need for a hot drink or anything more than that. It was just a routine I'd got into, and it's really easy. Once you kind of break that, you can get out of it. Set a very, very easy starting point. You want to make it so easy that you just can't fail. I heard someone talk about once how they were talking about gym membership, and the first thing they said was for the first week was get in your gym clothes 3 times a week, go out your front door, lock your front door. That's it. Week 2, then you go through the turnstile of the gym 3 times. That's it. You don't even need to do a workout. Week 3, then you go to the gym and do a workout for 20 minutes once. Then you do it twice. So just make it really, really easy starting point. And really when you're developing and delivering on a habit, you want to be wanting more. That's a really good sign. So think, hang on, this is so easy, I want to do it again. I want to do it for more. I want to do it for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, twice a day, 3 times a day, whatever it might be. Just hold that, but really stick to that very easy starting point. I'll come back to this point in a second. You want to get some numbers in there, quantify your habit with numbers, otherwise you've got an escape clause. The mind will take a few shortcuts. Just quantify your habit with numbers. I get this so often in coaching, and really by the time I've worked with someone, they get in that habit, funny enough, of actually telling me by when. So what's the number associated? How many times will you do this, and how long? It's like a duration thing, which can be quite important. So just think about, if there aren't any numbers in your habit, then it could be a downfall straight away. Think about the habit, and this goes back to my previous point. Work on it for as long as you possibly can so it feels like it's a ritual. It feels like it's the norm. It's something you're drawn to. It doesn't require too much willpower anymore, too much force. It's something you're drawn to, and it's something you want to do. And a real key here, if it's a ritual and I took it away, you would miss it. And that might adapt your mood, how you're thinking. So just think about making it a ritual before you do anything else. Now, what we're building here is number 7, with only 1 to go, is when you get to this point that you're thinking about more of a ritual-based approach, is you make very small additions to the habit. So your numbers could tweak. It could go from once a day to twice a day. Okay, but ideally you want to take that existing ritual and you anchor it. Don't be tempted to leap too far away. Somebody told me once they had this great habit of doing, I think it was 50 press-ups a day. Then they read somewhere about how it'd be in terms of doing more regular exercise, doing a different discipline, and doing them up to 400 sets of these, repetitions. And it was great. They were in good sort of physical shape. They could go to 50 to 400 quite easily. But the problem was it was just too far away. It was just too much of an addition. So if you're doing something 50 times, like press-ups or whatever it is, sit to breathe for 50 seconds or whatever, just make a small addition. Maybe it should be a 60 or a 70, and know when to stop. Know when that ritual is anchored perfectly and it doesn't need any more weights on the bar. I'm going to talk about this in my next posting as well, but number 8 is log and track your intentions somewhere. You've got all these wearable devices that you might want to use, simple spreadsheet, pen and paper, whatever it might be. One thing I'm using now, combined with many of those different approaches, is an app called Streaks, which you can see on the right-hand side. It doesn't matter what you use, but it is highly motivational to think about your way of doing that. So those are my top thoughts. In terms of a summary, think about, do you need to make or break a habit? Definitely consider all aspects of life. That's soul, body, heart, mind, and spirit. It's so important and so valuable. Think about the habit loop. There's quite a lot written on that area. A guy called Charles Duhigg, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, I wrote his book there. And he focuses on the cue, the routines, and the reward. Keep it really easy with that starting point. Make sure there's a number in there of sorts. That might want to tweak and change to get it right, because sometimes you start too high or too low. But make sure there's a number in there at least, even if you're not sure what that number is. Make sure you work on that habit for as long as it becomes that ritual. And once you've got that ritual, point 7 talks about, then and only then making the small addition, but knowing when to plateau, when to stop, because enough is enough. And if you go beyond that increased level, actually you might completely fall away from the habit entirely. And log and track your intentions, which I'll talk about next time. So I hope you found that helpful. Really, really straightforward. And this is a good way to think about the habits you want to form in your life.